Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Blue is the New White podcast. We took a little break over the holidays, but we are back now, and we've got an incredible guest to kick off the year. Today, we sit down with someone I've been trying to get on the show for the better part of a year. You might know him on Instagram as the HVAC Doctor. The great Dr. Matt Waxer joins us today to talk all about his journey into the trades. Starting off living the typical narrative in high school, Matt had an interest in the trades, but listened to those who told him he had a brighter future going to university. So that's what he did for 13 years, to become a doctor. Literally, he has a PhD in psychology and neuroscience. But after a change in the retirement structure for instructors, he decided to change this up and followed his passion of working with his hands straight back into the trades, where he now works as a gasfitter and Red Seal HVAC refrigeration technician. Listen in to hear Matt's incredible story of how and why he went the academic route for 13 years, got his PhD, only to find his true success and happiness helping people stay cool. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and on our website at blueisthenewwhite.com to receive all the latest updates. As always, this show's not monetized and we don't run ads. We rely strictly on word of mouth from our listeners to further this mission. So if you enjoy this episode, please take a minute to rate it, review it, and share it. The future generations of tradespeople depend on it. They depend on you. So thank you again and enjoy this episode of the Blue is the New White podcast with the HVAC Doctor, Matt Waxer. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Blue is the New White podcast. Super excited about my guest today. Really, really excited. For those of you who do follow him already on Instagram, the HVAC Doctor, the HVAC Doctor, Matt Waxer, is with us today, who I already know has an incredible story, but I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'm going to let him tell you himself. But before we do that, Matt, welcome to the Blue is the New White podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Josh. Great to be here. Thanks for reaching out. I know we've been trying to schedule this for, seems like about a year when we first contacted, and scheduling finally aligned, and we're finally able to sit down and do this. So happy and so excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks, man. And me too. Just really thrilled to talk to you and to hear your story. You know, we have been trying to connect for a while, and it's finally happening. Oh my gosh, I'm more excited than my audience right now. So anyway.
Awesome. I'm going to try to temper that excitement a little bit with a boring story. No, I'm kidding.
All right, cool. So stick around for this boring story. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm super curious. So, you know, why don't we just jump right into it and kind of give us an idea of who you are, Matt, and you know, where you come from, how you got to where you are today, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, sounds good. So my name's Matt Waxer. I'm a Red Seal refrigeration and air conditioning system mechanic, and also gas fitter level 2. Soon to be going for my gas fitter level 1. I think that starts in March. I'm starting that course. 42 years old. So skilled trades for me is a second career. Josh mentioned the HVAC doctor. The doctor part is actually literal. I do have a doctorate. We'll get into that. But where I'm at today is I am a commissioning and service technician for a company who represents a select line of HVAC products. So I commission and service Ceresco pool dehumidification units for indoor pools, Condair, which is also known as Nortec humidifiers, and Aon rooftop units as well. I know you mentioned Aon on a previous podcast about look at all the technology in it. We can talk about that in a little bit. I'm more than happy to talk about that. Love me working on Aon units. Awesome products in my opinion. So where I came from, let's go back to kind of the story that's been rehashed by lots of different people on your podcast, going back to high school. High school was the typical story of the skilled trades were never really promoted as a viable option for a career. The high school I attended in Aurora, Ontario, did have certain shops. So we had a carpentry shop, automotive shop, electrical, and welding shop. And through high school, I did all those. Loved working hands-on. Loved carpentry shop. Loved welding. Wasn't too much into the automotive and electrical. Dig that as well. It was impressed upon me by my parents that you go to university, you go to college, you'll get a good job. The story that's been told so many times over, so many different guests on your show that I've seen. All the while, through high school, my uncle is a master carpenter. So I'd work weekends with him. Summers I'd be working with him. So working in the skilled trades, I started really in my teenage years. So not full time, obviously, but I've been working in the skilled trades for quite some time. I remember one night in the last year of my high school, trying to figure out what exactly am I going to do? Am I going to go to university, which I'd been accepted to go do, but is that really something I want to focus my time and effort into? Or do I want to go work as a carpenter, continue to work with my uncle? I remember distinctly one night going up and talking with my father, and I got the stereotypic story of, you go into the trades, you're going to go nowhere. It's going to be so hard on your body. Stick with school, get a job, with a university degree, you'll be good, you'll be set.
Work smarter, not harder. Right.
Exactly, that old stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
And this is coming from, my father is a clinical psychologist, and at the time he was a university professor. So you got beat into the head of, higher education is going to get you somewhere better. Yeah. So off I went to York University, which is in Toronto, Ontario. Did my undergraduate degree in psychology and philosophy. And like many people in their late teens, early 20s, you have no clue what you really want to do. So what did I do? I kind of followed, well, my dad's a psychologist. Let's give this psychology thing a try. And you find out within psychology, there's a ton of different branches, different areas. And my interest drive towards neuroscience, drive towards neuropsychology, and more towards the research realm of things. So in psychology, you can kind of think of a divide between what everybody thinks a psychologist is as a clinician, where you sit down with a psychologist, tell them your problems, and they give you various strategies to help you deal with them. And then there's the researchers that are doing the underground or underlying work towards helping out researching different psychological disorders or different cognitive abilities, different cognitive processes, and how that impacts everybody's kind of daily life.
Okay, I want to stop you there real quick.
Yeah.
I made a note, researchers. Okay, so I'm curious, because the way that you're telling the story, it almost sounds like, this was kind of a decision that was made in a very short time frame, right? Like, do I go to college or university? Do I go that route, or do I go into the skilled trades? It sounds like you had, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you had a heavy interest in the skilled trades, working with your hands, but you were a little bit conflicted because of the common stereotypes that we talk about. And, we rely on the input from the adults, right, at that age, to teach us best. And to their credit, whatever they say, they think they're teaching us the best, right? And they want the best for us, and they push us in the path that they feel is best. So did you have like an internal conflict, or how strong was it, when you did make the decision to go to university? Was there something that was still kind of pulling you back there, that was like, or were you questioning that decision through those first years, or did you kind of let it go and that was it?
I think I questioned it through my entire academic career. So most people think university, they think undergraduate degree, which is typically 4 years. I did mine in 5, just because I did kind of a double major in psychology philosophy. So I took that extra year to wrap up all the credits I needed to get that degree. And then they think after that, you go out and get a job. Not so much. Within the realm of psychology I went into, in the research area, you need a graduate degree. So you need a master's, you need a PhD to have the possibility to be a university professor. That was the avenue and route that I was going. And throughout that entire time, I was always working in the trades whenever I had any spare time. Oh. So it's not like I was completely pulled away from working within the trades during my academic career. I was definitely more focused on the academic pursuits, but I was always, puttering around in a carpentry shop or at my uncle's, and also did landscaping during that time. So I had avenues within the skilled trades that, satisfied that itch, so to speak, before it became the lifelong career and obsession that I have, and passion that I have for it at the moment. Okay. Well, not that I have now.
I understand. No, that clears that up. Thank you. You were talking about the difference between the clinical path and the research path.
So most people think of psychologists as the clinical side, the people you go to talk about different problems or to work on different psychological disorders, mental health issues. And then there's I don't know if you want to say behind the scenes, but then there's the researchers that are researching these different disorders or researching different thinking patterns or different cognitive processes. So my interest in the academic world was in task switching, and what parts of the brain are involved in task switching, and also something called conflict processing, or more easily put, recognizing when you're doing something difficult versus when you're not, and what parts of the brain are involved in that, and how does that change across developmental time. So from being a child to an adolescent to an adult, how do these processes develop? What parts of the brain do it? And how do those change and mature across time? That was the entire thrust of my doctoral dissertation. I did do task switching related work during my master's, which looked at children's ability to recognize conflicting emotion in speech. So if you say something like, "My dog ran away from home," arguably that sentence, the content of that sentence is sad. But if you say it in a happy voice, like, "My dog ran away from home," well, most adults are going to think, well, that was one crappy dog. Maybe it was, just tearing up the house. Maybe it was biting people. Who knows? But to a kid at a younger age, say around 6, they're predominantly focused on what is said rather than how it's said, rather than the tone of voice. And when you ask them and explicitly ask them and instruct them to switch their attention from what is said to how it's said, they can't. They stay with the content of what is said. So I looked at different ways, experimental manipulations, to get children to pay attention to what is said, or sorry, pay attention to how something is said rather than what is said, to figure out what's the underlying process and mechanisms involved in children's attention to speech. It was kind of my 2-year master work.
That's really, really fascinating and super interesting, because my mind immediately goes to, I have a 6-year-old at home, for context, but my mind immediately goes to, like, if I have a bad day at work or something like that, and the kids are super happy to see me when I get home, and and they say something to me and I say something back in annoyance, right? It's something, literal that I say, but maybe there's a tone of voice, that's just off. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And now hearing you say that, I'm questioning, so is this something that sticks with the kids? Can they still sense that, or are they literally most of the time focused on the words that are coming out of my mouth and not how the words are coming out of my mouth?
When the tone, the prosody, the emotional tone maps on is the same as the content of the message, young children have no problem attending to both.
Ah, okay.
It's amplified. It's more when there's conflicting emotion cues in speech. So irony.
Okay. So if I came home and I said, I had a really bad day, kids, they would struggle with that.
They may pause and oh, I guess Dad actually did have a bad day. I don't know why he's saying it in such a weird way. But yeah, kind of along those same kind of
Okay.
lines. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So the master's work was this emotion and speech stuff, which also involved task switching between what is said and how it's said. The doctoral work got more into neuroimaging and a more mundane, boring task where you're switching between the shape of an object that's visually presented and the color of the object. And you can set it up so that the color and the shape conflict with where you need to sort them. So let's say you have a picture of a red flower, and a picture of a blue bunny rabbit. So you can sort these objects either by their color or by their shape, by either rabbits and flowers or red and blue. So we have a red flower, blue bunny rabbit, and let's say a sorting target is a red bunny rabbit. So you got to sort the red flower with the red bunny rabbit when you're sorting by color, or if you're sorting by shape, you need to sort the shapes that are the exact same with each other. So had people perform this task many, many times over many, many trials. Well, I had a high density electrode net placed on their head, and I recorded their brain's electrical activity using electroencephalography. So let's backtrack that a little bit, because I saw the little eyebrow twitch of what the heck is Matt talking about? So your brain produces very small but detectable electrical activity, millivolts, that can be recorded off the top of the skull. And you can take a whole bunch of recording electrodes and place them on top of people's heads and record their brain's electrical activity. And if you repeat the same event over and over and over and over, and have I said over yet enough? Over again, you can filter out a whole bunch of electrical background noise and distill the actual electrical signal of interest for whatever experimental task you're administering to these people, children, teens, adolescents that are willing enough to come in and spend their time doing this for you. So spent way too much time of my life doing that. And one thing I also did with this electroencephalography data was I did some computer modeling to try to figure out where in the brain these electrical signals were being generated. And the kind of Coles Notes version of the doctoral thesis was children are not as good at task switching as teenagers and adults. No surprise there. You do get better at what is labeled as executive function as you get older. The part of the brain thought to be involved in task switching is a fancy part of the brain called the dorsal lateral prefrontal cortex. It's a part of the brain somewhere in and around there, just behind your forehead. And what we saw in my doctoral work was that when people were asked to switch tasks, there was a electrical signal that actually diverged, got bigger between switching versus repeating for teenagers and adults, and not so much with younger children. And that electrical signal seemed to be computer source estimated to be coming from this part of the brain I just mentioned. When you're doing something that's more challenging than something that's more easy, there's a part of the brain called the anterior cingulate that's thought to be involved in that. And again, we found that in adolescents and adults, that part of the brain, at least the signal, electrical signal that thought to be come from that part of the brain, there was more of a difference in terms of recognizing when something is more challenging versus easier than there is in children. They just weren't picking up on, say, the distinction within this experimental task that was trying to pick at something being hard versus something being easy. Out of the doctorate, I got 2 publications. So in the academic research world, there's a line called publish or perish. Sometimes it's publish and perish. So the whole thing in the research world is you're doing experiments, you're doing studies to publish the results, try to get them published in peer-reviewed journals, and bolster your resume, your CV, in the hopes of, as a graduate student, landing a job as a university professor. So I got some pretty decent publications out of my academic career. But what I saw partway through my doctorate was there was a wide-scale detraction of, or they took away retirement at 65 for university professors, which caused a large glut of graduate students with no potential job opportunity. And usually after you do a PhD in the research world, you go do what's called a postdoctoral fellowship. That's usually at least 2 years. I had friends that had done 6, 7, 8-year postdoctoral fellowships and still weren't able to land a job.
Whoa.
So by the end of my PhD, close to the end, I had gotten married. The wife and I were looking to settle down. I didn't want to move halfway around the world to go do a postdoctoral fellowship and uproot her.
And was this I'm trying to keep the timeline straight. Was this about 5 years after starting?
No, a lot more time.
Yeah, more time has passed. Okay.
The undergraduate was 5 years.
The
master's was 2 years.
Oh.
And the PhD was 6 years. So quick math is 13 years of post-secondary education.
Got it.
One thing that I was blessed and very lucky within doing my academic pursuits was I accrued no student debt.
Wow, that is lucky. That's cool.
Through support of different government grants and a lot of support from my family. So I'm truly blessed on that front, because I know way too many people that are coming out of even just undergraduate degrees, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and don't have any job at the end of it. Oof. And that can be, if the fit is right, that can be definitely avoided by taking the fast track route into the skilled trades.
Yeah, no kidding.
Something I should have, I can't say in hindsight, should have done years ago, because the pursuits that I took going the academic route made me the technician that I am. Right? A lot of people say, you went and did a PhD in neuroscience. What are you doing in the skilled trades? And, what, do you think I'm too good for this? No, it's transferable skills, man. Yeah. It's like there's transferable skills from the skilled trades into other domains of work and other career paths.
I've got a couple questions surrounding that, but before we get to those questions, I've got to know, and maybe you just haven't gotten here yet, but I am super curious about the transition, right? What's the straw that broke the camel's back? What caused you to, say, okay, this I've got 13 years of education, right? In this field, I've got a
Mhm.
PhD. I'm going to go into the skilled trades. I mean, I have to
Yeah.
understand that.
So, as I had mentioned, taking away retirement for university professors. So there's professors in their 80s, 90s, still teaching, still doing research in labs that had things been different, one of those labs would have been mine. I probably would not have gone into the trades. I honestly don't know if I would have stuck it out in academia or not. Um, there were certain signs on the wall, just in terms of everyday academic work, that were, Matt, this probably isn't the best fit for you. You need to think about something else. And as I'd mentioned, I'd worked within different aspects of the skilled trades throughout my academic career. The last 2 years of my PhD, I was working pretty much full time in carpentry, um, just to, married, needed to, provide an income. And the thing I'd known growing up with working with my uncle, is I knew carpentry. So I got back into carpentry. I got a carpentry job, working for a local contractor who was doing work on a horse farm in Aurora. We built barns for this one property in Aurora, until the horse industry in this neck of the woods kind of took a big belly upturn. We went from a crew of 60 down to a crew of 4 overnight. And it wasn't much long after that I was released from that crew. So after that, it was a scramble for a couple days of what the heck am I going to do next? I know it's not going to be trying to get back into academia. Where in the trades am I going to go? So some of my brother-in-laws work in concrete. They do hydraulic cement, floor leveling. So I went and worked at that company for a little bit. So I did 2 years of carpentry as I was finishing my doctorate. Finished my doctorate, and I did 2 years of working hydraulic cement, from carrying 80-pound bags of cement to the mixer to keep that thing going, to working inside pulling hose, to actually finishing the hydraulic cement, floating it out, leveling out the floors themselves. While I was doing that, I mean, it's not a Red Seal trade, and that particular line of work is very taxing on the body. And I had to say to myself, like, can I do this for the rest of my life? Is this going to be what I do? Is it interesting enough for me? And the definitive answer was no. So a friend of one of my brother-in-laws was a gas fitter, and said, you know what, go get your gas fitter ticket at night, and I'll get you in at the company I work for. He works for one of the largest gas fitting outfits in the greater Toronto area. So I'm like, okay, great. I'll go off. I'll get my gas fitter ticket while I'm still working hydraulic cement. Did that and called up this friend. I'm like, hey, like, I just got, my first gas fitter ticket. Is there any opportunities at where you work? No, man. No, we're not hiring right now. Okay, cool. No problem. Started sending out resume after resume after resume to local shops. And through a friend in town, I landed a job at a local mechanical shop that predominantly was plumbing and heating, but also did some HVAC. That was my break into the HVAC world of the skilled trades. It was stumbled around the skilled trades for about 4 years before I actually landed in HVAC.
I got to stop you right here for a second. You've had a couple of jobs since getting your doctorate, right? And this career shift. Did anybody say anything to you, like when you presented your resume, like, hey, do you know you're a doctor?
Yeah.
How did that? I mean, because this is a switch that you don't often hear about, obviously, which is, fascinating to me, and I'm sure everyone who's going to be listening. But I try to put myself in that position, right? If I were to get a resume across my desk for an HVAC technician, and there was 13 years of schooling on there that resulted in a PhD. My first question is,
Why? What
why?
happened?
What happened? So you got that a lot, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like, we've been discussing, you just tell them the same story.
Yeah.
Look, this is the reality of it. And a lot of the times you get, well, I don't think the trades are going to be for you. You won't be challenged enough, which I call grade A bullshit.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
We all
and
know that.
oh, you're too smart. I'm like, let me go to work and then be the judge of if I'm smart enough or if I'm too smart. Like, just because I have a PhD doesn't mean I'm smart. It means I was able to apply myself to a domain of work and show, perseverance, grit, and determination to actually get a piece of paper and actually go through an exam to have, at the time, people in my field, my peers, my superiors say, you know what, you've done enough work, you've done a commendable job, you've done enough work to prove that actually you deserve this degree, you deserve this accreditation, you deserve this title. It's just the same in the skilled trades. You've got to put in the work to earn that degree. You've got to put in the work to earn that ticket. You got to put in the work to get that, job title. To me, it's no different.
Yeah.
It's just a different domain of work.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's it shows that you did one thing beyond a shadow of a doubt, and that's work your ass off, right? I mean, and I think that can, especially, after 13 years, it shows it. It's right there,
I appreciate that. And it's an ethic that, I think the work of over the 13 years of academia, the work ethic that I had instilled in me was a lot from my uncle working in the trades and going to work, keep grinding, keep working. And also my father, and the importance of just keep working at it, keep going hard, keep going at it. And one thing that, we had conversation, gosh, a couple years ago now, I think it is. And starting off, I said, my father, did the traditional thing of, go into academia, go to university, you'll get a better job. And, it's the story we've heard 1,000 times. And it was about a year or so ago that, he said, I couldn't be prouder of you that, you went the route you did. And had I had the sight and insight to know that, the skilled trades would give you the opportunities for the kind of work you do and the kind of rewards you get out of it and the kind of security, job security, financial security you get out of it, I would have pushed you into it a long time ago, which we need to push more people, not push, but saturate the advertising market, that it is a viable and fruitful career option.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, I mean, and that's something that I talk heavily about on this show. And I just got to say, like, I got goosebumps when you said your dad came to you and said that, because, that's huge. That had to feel really good for you too. Just, hearing that, right? I mean, that's got to be.
Absolutely. It's kind of a 180 turn from, the decades ago of go to university, and you'll be successful. I learned a lot. I learned a lot of interesting things, saw a lot of interesting things in that career path, but you do the same stuff within the trades. Still see so many interesting things, been to so many interesting places because of the skilled trades, because of HVAC.
Well, and that kind of leads into my next question. I was going to ask, about the transferable skills that we were talking about, because when you started explaining to me kind of what task switching was and some of the other things that you did, my immediate thought was, you're talking a lot about problem solving, which we see a ton in the skilled trades. So what skills did you learn through your 13-year academic career that are transferable into the skilled trades, and how?
Yeah. So you hit one right nail on the head right there with problem solving, um, investigating, researching.
Yes.
You got to do that within the skilled trades. You got to do that within whatever area of the skilled trades you're in. Um, yeah, in the academic world, you got to do a lot of writing. Well, guess what? As an HVAC service and commissioning technician, there's a substantial amount of writing, interacting with people, and learning ways to interact with them. I'd say I learned that more and better within the skilled trades than within academia. Learning how to multitask, time management, more specific to my line of work and what I do. So that whole neuroimaging stuff, there's a lot of signal processing work and programming involved in that. And the kind of product lines that I work on right now, there's a lot of programming to get an AON unit, say, up and running properly. It's a lot of computer interface work to actually get those units to do what they need to do. It's not just flick the switch and the unit's ready to go. Away you go. See you later. No, there's a ton of work that needs to go into actually commissioning a unit properly, especially things like AONs and Cerescos, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And other equipment as well.
And that's becoming more and more common, right? I mean, we're seeing it on more and more equipment. The AONs, especially, we've got some customers here that use AON units, and it just blows me away, the efficiency and the technology behind it. But now we're starting to see it in other equipment too, not just rooftop units, but kitchen, commercial kitchen units inside the kitchen, ice machines. We're starting to get this stuff on walk-in coolers. It's amazing, the technology that's overtaking the skilled trades. And I think, look, that's one of these things. We talk about marketing the trades, we talk about advertising the trades. That's one of these things that I think we've got to push, right? Because there's such an interest and an intrigue for the technological aspect of anything, in the up and coming generations, right? So, but the up and coming generations, unfortunately, don't know that this equipment, number one, exists half the time, and number two, utilizes the type of technology that it's starting to nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. I think Brandy mentioned this on the podcast she did with you, that when she was with JCI, they were running around with laptops because they could remotely log into different systems they were looking after, different chillers they were looking after. Similar thing with AON as add-on packages. You can set up remote accessibility to their systems. Ceresco dehumidification units come with something called Web Sentry, which allows you to log, if it's set up, allows you to log into the unit to actually change different set points, see how the unit's performing, do remote diagnosis as well. And that's something that's going to permeate our market across all product lines.
Yep.
It's, you say you have a Manitowoc ice machine down. Well, next thing you know, you're going to be able to, from the comfort of your office, log into it and see what the unit's doing, see if it's flagged any alarms, and be able to start troubleshooting remotely before you have to send out a technician. And it's going to save you time and money on the diagnosis as well, potentially.
Yep. And yeah, and you're right. We're seeing it more and more, and all the way to the point where there's some machines out there in circulation now that will tell you exactly what's wrong, or if there's a certain part that's at fault. We're starting to see that quite a bit too. So before you even go out to the site, you know what part you have to bring with you. Now, it's not super common yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah, you see that on Armstrong design envelope pumps and their predictive maintenance. It's going to be kind of the way of the future, rather than reactive maintenance based off of how an appliance is performing. If things start going a little awry based off of how previous units have performed, we recommend that you change this part before it becomes a catastrophic failure or before it becomes an issue for whatever that particular appliance or piece of equipment is responsible for maintaining or doing. It will lead to minimal downtime for the customer and client, and roll up already, like you said, roll up with the part you need before the thing actually breaks down. Instead of getting calls of, oh, it's broken now. You can reach out to a customer and say, hey, we've been remotely viewing your equipment that we have the ability to do based off of how we see the units performing. We recommend that this part might be coming up on failing soon. We'd like to give you the option to present an option to replace it now, so that we experience no downtime on your equipment, which is going to make an end user that much more happier. The last thing they want is a piece of kitchen equipment down. And imagine a location in the middle of nowhere. I think you've got a good one in mind, somewhere on the bottom of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
That takes time to get a technician down there. What if you can diagnose the problem before you're sending the technician down, whether he's on a mule or actually got to the chopper and is flying on down? You can get him there with what's needed before it becomes a major issue. That's going to be an amazing thing to see develop and grow within our industry.
That's definitely huge. Definitely huge. And you have listened to a couple episodes, haven't you?
One or two, maybe.
No.
Remember I mentioned that thing about researching?
Yeah.
Research, what I'm going to get involved in before we do that, right?
Very good. I need to take a page from your book and be a little bit better about that. I could stand to be a little better researcher, but no, this is great. I want to pivot the conversation back from the technical aspect of things and kind of go back into the benefits and the fulfillment that you get now with the skilled trades, because I think that's important, right? That's an important message to push. You invested a lot of your life, into a path that you thought you were going to go, and as life so happens, right? It threw you kind of a curveball there, and you were fortunate enough to find your passion somewhere else. And again, like my book says, right? It's in a place that most people are not often taught to look. So I want to talk a little bit about what you love about what you do right now and how you're finding fulfillment with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the fulfillment I get is I need problems to solve. I need problems to dig into and research and mentally stimulate myself. That gives me a sense of satisfaction, a sense of success. But the thing that is even more important in my mind is I'm helping out people. And that gives me way more satisfaction. I'm coming in to solve a problem that they can't fix, that they need a solution to. And that's what we do on a daily as service technicians. Even as commissioning technicians, you're coming in to start up a technical piece of equipment that not a lot of people can do. With Aon, it's not a product line heavily market saturated within where I am. When I talked with Gary McCready, he still hasn't seen one in the 20 plus years that he's been an HVAC mechanic, other than say pictures online or pictures of work I've been doing. He hasn't worked on one. Not a lot of technicians have. It's kind of a unique product.
It is.
It's an awesome product. But we're going to diverge away from talking about product specific things. Helping out people is really what gives me the most sense of satisfaction and success. Whether it's out in the field or even through like social media or even just random encounters on the street. And I get reached out to on social media, not as much as a lot of people, but enough where people ask, like, hey, how did you get into what you do? How do I get into doing what you do? And we specify very clearly, like where I am in Ontario, Canada, I did a 5-year apprenticeship for my refrigeration and air conditioning system mechanic ticket. During those 5 years of 9,000 hours, I had to do 3 2-month sessions at an accredited college for basic, intermediate, and advanced schooling. After that, after I'd completed all my hours and completed all my education for that, I still had to go write an exam. I had to go write what's called the CFQ, Certificate of Qualification exam. The big, scary exam that you have to pass to get that journey person ticket. And in my journey within the trades, I had kind of a COVID FU on me getting my journey person ticket after I'd completed advanced and all my apprenticeship hours. That was back when the first wave of COVID hit and everything got shut down here. So I got delayed maybe 8 months on being able to actually set my CFQ. Once testing centers reopened, I hounded the ministry every day. Hey, I hear you're back up and opening. I had an exam booked. It got canceled. I want to write my exam. I want to write my exam. I need to write my exam. And the first time that someone actually said, okay, we can set you up with a time. How's tomorrow? Excuse me? No, not tomorrow. How about give me a couple weeks? Like, you know, I've been studying, but like I haven't been diligently studying. I've been back to work.
Right.
Give me a couple weeks to, refresh myself to get ready for the exam. I eventually did get a date 2 weeks after hounding them. And then the last kind of kick in the teeth or kick in the gut and doing the whole apprenticeship thing was I was setting my CFQ exam. I think it was like 150, maybe 170 odd questions, multiple choice. I'd gone through answering them all. I had maybe 20, 30 questions I wanted to go back and look at. As I'm starting to go back through those, the fire alarm gets pulled on the building and we have to evacuate.
Oh, no.
Leave the test there, leave all your personal belongings, go stand outside while they figure out what's going on in the building. And it was just one of those last hurdles to overcome before getting that journey person ticket.
Unbelievable.
But,
you were being tested some way, weren't you?
Somehow, some way.
Are you sure this is what you want?
Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt. It is what I want to do. Yeah.
That is cool. That's a cool story. And that's interesting. And if you've listened to any of the other podcasts, you know this too, right? That answer that I get of helping people is so common in our line of work. It really, it shows me, it tells me that there's a specific type of person, right, that loves to be in the skilled trades. Anybody that likes to help people gets that satisfaction from seeing the look come over somebody's face of gratitude, right? And hey, thank you for doing this. It's just, it's telling. It really is telling, and that's awesome. So it never gets old. I love hearing people say that. And, again, we spinning it right back to advertising and marketing this industry, and creating some kind of appeal for people to want to be in the industry. Why don't we talk about this stuff? Why don't we talk about how much you can help somebody, how challenged you are and how much you'll grow because of the problems that you solve, and the type of success and accomplishment that you can feel at the end of every single day, by doing, I mean, this is the stuff that people need to know, not
Absolutely.
I fix toilets,
Yeah. Oh, I've done that too. The first company I worked for, it wasn't right into HVAC. It was, I was brought on as, you're going to start in plumbing and heating. And it wasn't until maybe the first year had passed at that company that the owner sat me down and said, "You know what, Matt? Plumbing's not for you." I'm thinking, "Oh, please." Yeah, he's gonna can me. He's like, "Nope, plumbing's not for you. You're going into HVAC." I'm like, "Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted when I first started here." And the rest was just keep going. Now, mind you, when he said you're going into HVAC, little did I know I'd still have to do 3 years of unclogging urinals and toilets at gas stations. But hey, it's part and parcel of my journey within the trade. But going back to the point of all the interesting stuff that we get to do and being advertising that to whomever, the younger generation, people like myself and other guests that you've had where this is a second career, and being able to push and advertise the enjoyment and fulfillment we get doing what we do. I completely lost my train of thought where I was going to go. There was another thing.
We said that was going to happen. We said that was going to happen. And we said, we cursed ourselves, Matt.
You know what? I just found it because if people want to call it moment of stupidity, and the whole, going to academia and smart people are there. No, yeah, I met a lot of smart people in that, and some of the smartest people, if not the smartest people I've met, and you've said it before, in the trades.
Yep. You
got to know what you're doing, and you got to keep investing in your education within the skilled trades, or you're going to be left behind. You constantly have to learn, constantly have to evolve, constantly keep up with the times. That's what can pique interest and fascination in some of the other people that may be lucky enough to find this career path and have it fit for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of truth to that, and I mean, not only that, for personal development, but people depend on that. I mean, there's a lot of trades out there that, literally people's lives depend on that, and so that's something that people need to understand too, depending on what trade they get in, is that, the things that you do have severe and don't do, have severe consequences. And, accountability is not an issue in the trades because you're pretty much held accountable based on what you do or don't do on any job that you're on.
Absolutely held accountable, but also know that it's okay to screw up.
Yes.
It's not how many times you screw up to a certain degree. If you're making the same mistake over and over and over and over again, there's going to be some discussion. But it's okay to go grenade a motor. It's okay to go let the smoke out of a control board. So long as you've learned what you did wrong,
let the smoke
and you're not going to do it again.
I like the way you worded that.
It's hard to push that magic smoke back into electrical components. Very challenging. But so long as you know, or so long as you've learned from that failure, that's how you're going to grow. That's how you're going to continue. Hey, there's a little visitor.
That's all right. 100% too. You're absolutely right. I say that all the time, fail forward. And, everybody says everything about failure.
I'll be up in a little bit, okay?
When are we going to play Prodigy?
Later, okay?
Okay.
Have a good night, Pop. Go see Mommy, okay?
Bye.
Guest appearance by my daughter, Laura.
Oh, that's awesome.
She didn't bring the dog down.
Oh, how many kids do you have?
Just the one.
Just the one. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just Laura, and then we also have a dog, Sherlock.
Sherlock. What kind of dog?
He's a Barbet.
Barbet.
Yeah, that's the look I get every time I see that word. So Barbet's a French water dog. So he's often confused for being either a Portuguese water dog or a poodle or a Labradoodle.
Interesting. Okay.
So He's a smaller, kind of closest thing I could say is like a smaller version, less energetic than a Portuguese water dog.
Okay. Oh, very cool. Learn
But
something
very,
new.
very, very smart guy.
Yes. I have a 200-pound English Mastiff at home. So,
Nice.
yeah, he's not as smart as your dog.
I don't know. Sometimes we question that with Sherlock, but no, he's a good boy.
That's cool. Okay, good. So listen, I should have asked if you had kids before, but I didn't, and now that leads me into another question.
Yeah.
So knowing how the narrative that was pushed on you when you were younger, right,
Mhm.
by your dad, and and seeing the narrative that's in the school systems today with regard to the skilled trades, and there's other professions that fall into the same category. You know, what's your thought on, when it comes to raising kids on what path they should follow? Is this something that you've thought about?
Yeah. So in terms of paths that they should follow, it's what path interests them. What path is going to give them the most sense of success and fulfillment? It's not a matter of pushing someone into a particular line of work, but it's also you got to show them what's out there. Uh, you know very well the trades are not advertised.
Here you go.
All that great. Thank you. So making it readily, available and knowledge, make it clear that, hey, these jobs are out there. You can't apply for jobs that you don't even know exist.
Yeah.
How many times do people go into a building or even just at their house? They know that there's heating and cooling. They know that sometimes it doesn't work and we've got to call a person to come in and fix it. But do they know what that person did to get to the point where they're coming to work on this equipment and how rewarding a career it is, actually?
Yeah.
Most don't.
No, most don't. So your philosophy on that is present them with the options, right? Give them the information, and see what interests them, and then encourage that.
Yeah. As well, it's not just tell them, show them.
Show them. Okay, good.
If there's a way to do a job shadowing, like take your kid to work kind of thing. I know there's huge legal liability things surrounding that within my line of work that may prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
But take them out on a job that there isn't a ton of critical stuff that is sensitive to different eyes, that you can actually access with people, or bring things to different schools. So like things like what Shannon's doing with Kick-Ass Careers, or what Brandy's doing with women in skilled trades, actually bringing things to demo to college students and high school students to give them an idea of what it's like to do different things within the skilled trades, and see people's faces light up when they do something they thought they could never do before. That the light goes off and go, oh, I might actually like doing this for a career. I then have them actually be able to come out and shadow on a job would be amazing, because it's not all sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows everywhere. The pros far outweigh the cons, but there are definite, negative aspects of the line of work that we do. But that's every single line of work.
Absolutely. It really is, and it's about how you look at it too. I like to take any and all experiences like that as growth experiences, and we talk about failure in the same way, right? Is not to be afraid of failure. It will lead to success. Well, so will the shitty parts of being a technician. It will. I mean, I've talked before about how when I was a technician and flopping around in puddles of grease and having to take 3 showers at the end of the day. Sometimes, that sucks, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Oh, exactly. I laid on the floor of, truck stop kitchens while you're trying to fix their 2-drawer freezer with their griddle on top of it while they're still cooking and splattering bacon grease on you.
That's it.
They're asking you, when is that going to be fixed? I need to use it. I go, I don't know, when can you shut down your kitchen so I can actually work on it?
If you stop spilling that hot grease on my face and go a little faster.
Something like that, yeah.
No.
Things you say in your head, but you say that to the customer and all of a sudden there's a different issue that you got to resolve as opposed to the broken appliance you're working on, right?
Practice your communication skills. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, but that's very true. There are a lot of aspects of the trades that suck, just like any other line of work, and but the pros far outweigh the cons.
Oh, absolutely. Not only in terms of mental stimulation, physical.
Yeah.
Right? What we do is a physical job. And going back to my undergrad days of university, I did a course in Renaissance studies. And back in the Renaissance, they had this concept or this notion of the healthy man or healthy person, really, is one that is active in thought and in body. What job, what career path can give you that? Come on over, come to the trades.
Yeah, I
definitely have that for you. I definitely have Zen moments of, that moment of, it finally worked. That moment of where you're just working on a piece of equipment, say doing, I don't know, a compressor change out or whatever job you're working on. When we're messaging today, I told you I was swapping out a supply fan. I was very happy that job got done, but there were certain negative things like tools freezing to the roof today. My face almost freezing to the side of the unit. But the moment of, when I stood up after the job was done and the site I was working on was within an eye shot of Lake Ontario, and you go, those are the HVAC views.
Yes. HVAC views. Somebody needs to start that hashtag. Yeah. HVAC
exactly.
views. No, but you're right. I remember those times too, I specifically remember because sometimes you work every once in a while, you work long days, right? As a technician.
Once in a blue moon.
Once in a blue moon. No, but I remember being on the rooftops and watching the sunset, I mean, when I was in the field, I had just moved to Arizona, and Arizona has beautiful sunsets, right? And, you get it over the mountains and stuff like this. And I remember being up on those roofs sometimes and just watching that sunset. I was done with the job, and I just sat there like, okay, I can make this work. That
Absolutely.
sense comes over you. And like you were talking about before, you have your aha moments when you finally fix something, or when you're diagnosing something, a problem unit that you finally find the problem, and it's just these senses of satisfaction. So, but anyway, I know we could go off on tangent after tangent after tangent about this. I have 2 more specific questions.
Hours.
I know. Seriously,
Whoa.
I could sit and talk to you all night, but my wife would be very upset.
I might have a little one that might be a little upset. You might continue to bring food down and try to lure me out.
That's a plus, though.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I'm curious if there was one thing that you could say to anybody that was considering a career in the trades, what would that be?
Don't be afraid to take the leap. It is going to be one heck of a ride. And one heck of a rewarding ride as well. Get to go see things that you never thought were out there, and a job that you never knew was out there. In my trade career, I have literally traveled all of Ontario, from Windsor, Ontario to Ottawa, Niagara Falls to Sudbury to beyond. All the way out to northern parts of Ontario, like Geraldton, Kenora. One of the first HVAC jobs I had was a Mitsubishi City Multi install out in Kenora. Now, to give kind of perspective, the drive from where I am, just north of Toronto, Ontario, to Kenora is a 20-hour drive. So I could have driven to Florida by the time I got to Kenora, and I'm still in one province. So I've literally seen all of Ontario, got to go see lots of cool places, see lots of cool things, walk into tons of craft breweries. That is another kind of passion of mine, is sampling different craft beer. And I get to do that all with HVAC, which is awesome. And everybody's going to find their thing within whatever trade they're doing that is just kind of an emergent bonus of doing what they do within the trade.
Yeah. Mine was building business, right? I mean,
Exactly.
I seriously, I started fixing fryers, and now, I've got 60 employees across 3 different states, and
Awesome.
and it's been a hell of a ride, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, the successes and the failures. Absolutely. Great answer.
The successes are nice, but the failures are what are going to define us.
The successes are nice, the failures are necessary.
Hi. Hey, Pop.
How many minutes?
In like 10 or 15 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. That's my alarm countdown. How much time I have left in
That's awesome.
the podcast.
One more question for you, and then we'll get this wrapped up. So, and you've heard some episodes, so you know what's coming, right? And
Yep.
I talk a lot about success, Matt, and the different definitions, the different ways to achieve it. So I got to ask you, what is your definition of success, and how are the skilled trades helping you achieve that?
Yeah, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not the money. Don't get me wrong. The money is good in the trades.
Mm-hmm.
You make a very comfortable living. You are handsomely compensated for what we do. That does not give me success. Success and my happiness are tied together with helping people out, helping out end user customers, helping out people that I encounter on social media with answering their questions about how I got into what I do and why I do what I do. Answering questions I've gotten from people who are like, what's the doctor part of this HVAC doctor? Yes, I am a doctor. Psychology. I don't use it. And my skills are in the skilled trades. They're in HVAC. But advertising that, hey, I went that whole academic route. It's not something you need to do if the trades are what you want to do. And they're going to give you a ton of fulfillment and a ton of success doing and happiness if they fit with what you want to do. And they will for a lot of people. They have for me.
Yeah, great answer. And I love it, and that's a wrap, man. I'll let you get back to your family. But
likewise, brother.
But listen, Matt, I can't thank you enough for the time we spent together today talking. And I know we could talk for hours. So we'll see if maybe over the next few months we can get together again. Have another conversation. Fill in the gaps of what we missed today. But man, until then, I appreciate you coming onto the show. And for those who don't know where to find you, why don't you let them know?
Yeah, well, first, before I let them know that, I want to say thank you, Josh, for having me on. It was absolutely awesome to do this. And thank you for doing what you do in promoting the skilled trades. People like you, people like Gary McCready, you guys are making a difference. It's absolutely imperative that you guys keep doing what you do because you are making a difference. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
I try to do tiny little bit of what you guys do. And if I can reach out and, help out one person in what I do, I'm happy with that. But you guys are making way more of an impact and wave than I am. And thank you so much for that. Where people can find me. You're most likely to find me on Instagram at _HVAC_doctor. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Either platform, you'll get fairly quick reply. I like to try to answer people, gosh, depending on what I'm doing. You will get an answer in a day, but sometimes a lot faster than that. And that's where you can find me. That looks like it's my exit
Mom
cue there.
wants you.
Okay, I'm coming up. Well, not only do I have my daughter, now the wife's calling me to come on up and help. So
Awesome.
thank you, Josh.
That's our
been
cue.
absolutely awesome.
No,
Yeah,
thank you very much, Matt. Have a great evening, and thanks again.